Hello and welcome to another episode of the Game Theory Podcast. Today we are covering something that's a little topical, so we won't have news and reviews because this is in the news. So
And we're going to review it.
yeah, so we're going to review it. So this is starting out, with a bang. But first of all, David, yesterday was your birthday. How
Yes.
is your life going?
Pretty terrible today. Yesterday was great, though.
Why do you feel terrible today?
There's like an economic principle called reverse saving, where when you're saving, you're borrowing, you're putting pain on yourself now for happiness in the future.
Right.
I did the opposite of that. I borrowed happiness from the future that I'm paying for now with pain.
Yeah. So you got drunk. That's what I'm hearing.
A lot of vodka and rum.
Oh man. Oh, cool. Well, at least you lived it.
Yeah.
You get a family motto that goes, "Life is an Avenger." That's our idea. So
Life is an Avenger.
yep, life is an Avenger. That should be no adventure.
Okay, I was like, I can see that being your model because it seems like every other picture of your kids is like they're dressed as the Hulk or Iron Man. So
Yeah, you gotta keep them. You gotta keep them dressed up so that when they're acting crazy, it's in context. Everyone's like, "That's fine." You know,
Yeah,
he's a Hulk. He's supposed to be freaking
supposed to
crazy.
be smashing.
And it makes it adorable. It's like, oh, he smashed.
Keep having a tantrum. You're like, wait, time out. Put on your Hulk costume.
That would be amazing. Just running around smashing stuff and freaking out, and I'm like cheering him on. No,
You're like,
better yet. Then
at
I put
Walmart.
Elijah inside of like an Iron Man suit, and then have
And
him
then make
fight.
a fight like a Hulkbuster
Yeah.
costume.
Yeah. Just be like, Hulk's at it again, Elijah. Time to go.
Take him
That's what I
down.
should do. Only you can. All your training, Elijah. All of it.
That'd be great. Like, kids are always throwing tantrums at like Walmart or the store.
Yeah.
Parents just pull like out the diaper bag these Hulk costumes and just set them loose.
And then all the other kids in the store dress up as the Avengers and have to stop them.
Because everybody kind of gets annoyed when kids are like throwing a tantrum. I do.
Yeah.
But if a kid was throwing a tantrum dressed as the Hulk, I would think that was hilarious, and I would just be so amused and not annoyed anymore. It's a win-win.
Yeah. Supposed to be kid-on-kid violence, which is always a win. So.
Right. That's why the Hunger Games was so great.
Right.
Not the movie, just the concept.
It's so bad. I don't know. The concept is so bad. First of all, it's just a reiteration of Battle Royale, the old Japanese film, where the school has to like basically fight each other to death, and lots of other Japanese movies have done
What
that.
they call it in Europe, a battle royale with cheese.
Because of the McDo.
Yeah, it's like an old meme from Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah. So and then this movie comes out and it's just so full of holes. Every time I watch it, I can't even get into it because I'm like, wait, what? And then I'll ask something because I haven't read the books, and Amy will be like, yeah, there's no real answer for that. I'm like, ugh. I'm like Divergent's the same way. That's such shit. Ugh. Anyway.
I haven't seen Divergent, but young adults, they gotta have their literature.
Yeah, and adults, that's the worst part. Like, yes, I know. The reason why you write for teenagers is because you're a bad writer. Like, that's obviously. If you could make it big, you would have made it big. Or that's the idea. Now, young adult fiction is selling more, probably, I'm guessing, than regular fiction.
Right, because we had one good writer do, like, Harry Potter.
Oh,
and everyone was like, I want to get on that train. Apparently young adults the way to go. And it's like, yeah, but also you need to know how to write is half of it.
Yeah, that definitely happened. Yeah, but it gets by because all these teenagers watch it, and then people are like, oh, I want to capitalize on that market. And then old people are like, wait a minute, if this is big, is this going to be another Harry Potter? And no, it's not going to be another Harry Potter. So, whatever. It's fucking horrible. Just we've bitched about that enough. So to move on.
Everything is awful.
Everything is bad when you're teenage writing. My week's been pretty good. I think I broke my toe at jiu-jitsu, so that's a problem. Also,
terrible.
Just bruises everywhere, all over my body.
I know, I saw that.
It's horrible, man. I asked, on my Facebook page, actually, yeah, I put it up there, I think. Maybe it was Amy.
You did.
And,
it was gross.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, I'm just covered with bruises. And then, of course, like my cousin, who's like a nurse practitioner, she's basically like a doctor because she's gone to school for so long, she can prescribe medicine, own her own business and stuff. or do her own practice. Well, she gets on there and she's like, oh, I hope it's not none, like some kind of weird phrase. And I was like, what? And I looked that up, and of course, then I feel like I'm on WebMD because I'm dying. It's like, oh, sometimes your body just makes all your capillaries explode, and you know, that just means you're gonna die in the next few weeks. And I was like, what?
I hope it's not that. I hope you're not gonna. I hope all your blood vessels don't explode.
Yeah, what the fuck? So then I was like, what? So then, you know, I've got it. I don't know what it is. You just got to check it out. So I'm like, wait a minute. I'm fact checking myself. I'm like, I did develop these after jiu-jitsu, right? It didn't come on any day where it didn't go to jiu-jitsu, right? Of course not. But
hypochondriac.com.
I know, man. I feel like I'd like to test that, actually. See people who have been to WebMD, whether, you know, if they went to WebMD first and then became hypochondriacs later. Because I know hypochondriacs probably go to WebMD, but man, sure. I've been on there a few times and I've been like, wait, am I dying? So.
Do I have cancer?
Do I have cancer in the face? Face cancer claims 15 million lives a year. Yeah. So anyway,
I wear a face ribbon every so often just to raise awareness. Ribbon with a face on it.
A ribbon on your face, maybe even.
Yeah, just like pinned into my forehead.
Yeah, that's nice. Well, cool. This episode pretty much is going to be over. Not pretty much. It will be over Anita Sarkeesian's new series that she put out. Yeah, the new series is what's it called? A successful female protagonist, basically.
Yeah.
I can't exactly remember the name, but you know, it's like, when did people get it right, which is kind of important.
Yeah.
To do. There's something that bugs me a lot. Like whenever we did our academic feminism episode, I think that, you know, the idea is, in academia, if you're going to publish something, there's often someone who disagrees with you. That's an editor. Yes. You got to get it past those people and have them go, okay, this is good. I want to, you know, that's worthwhile. Mm. And she's obviously never done that. So like, she's finally responding to that criticism and putting out stuff that's like, okay, here's where they got it right, and I'm going to represent that side too. So I'm actually really excited that she did this.
She's actually published her, well, not she's published, but her thesis is available online that she got her master's degree from. I'll Make a Man Out of You. Yeah. So she's definitely had to at least defend one paper before in front of a panel.
Yeah, but I mean,
but it was a Canadian panel, so maybe they were really polite and they just kind of let it go without a lot of pushback. Oh yeah, it's
right. They're like, it's a boot right.
It's a boot right. It's not too bad.
No, yeah. Yeah, but I mean, like a lot of those, like, you know, I mean, what was her degree in media critic or something like that, or media?
Yeah,
something?
Media criticism or.
Yeah, come on, man. There's not really rigor there. Give me a break.
Yeah, if you've read her paper, it's not super, like, it's got some pretty gaping holes. Like her premise is that when women are presented as heroes in media, they're presented in masculine ways to make them heroic. And she has a chart that lists all the traditionally negative masculine traits, traditionally positive masculine traits, traditionally negative feminine traits, and positive feminine traits that the media portrays, right? So like a positive feminine trait might be nurturing, and a negative one might be like irrational or emotionally impulsive or something. And then in the positive masculine traits that the media presents, it says like brave, courageous, strong, all the things that you think of when you think of positive masculine heroic traits in media. But under negative masculine traits that the media portrays, it's a blank box. There's nothing in it.
Yeah, I saw that. It's bullshit. And more importantly, that begs the question, like, what makes those masculine? Pretty sure you can't pull that bullshit anymore, because now there's, like, women in the UFC, right? There's women in combat sports. Mm-hmm. And
Ronda Rousey.
Yes. Yeah, Ronda Rousey's a badass, and there's no doubt she's a woman. And, a lot of people find her attractive. And she has all of the quote-unquote masculine traits. It's not masculine. She's just, she's brave. Yeah, she's badass. Yeah, she's fucking tough. Yeah,
and even if you're trying to make an argument that they're traditionally presented as masculine in movies like Cinderella or something, it's you can't just leave something blank. That's a huge hole in your argument. Like, that's why I don't think she had much of a panel, as far like a good panel would have pointed that out and said, well, I don't know, I can think of some kind of rapey guys in media that might be negative portrayals of men. You might want to add that to your blank box. Was that a typo? Did you spill some white out there in that specific area? Like, that's the point. That's the point of when you're presenting in academia, is they're supposed to point out like where your blind sides are, your blind spots.
Right, and that's functionally equivalent to saying one of these two words in academia, and you know that these will not ever pass. Here goes: always or never, or
Right.
or the equivalent of all or none. Like don't ever write that ever, because
Right.
then
Unless
that's
you're
falsifiable.
Sith, because only a Sith can deal in absolutes.
It's ironic because that's an absolute. I can't believe how many people don't understand that. Like whenever, the first time I heard that, someone said it to me in straight face, and I laughed because I thought he was kidding. You know, he's
Right.
and he's a Star Wars fan. And then he was like, well, only a Sith to deal in absolutes, and I was like,
Absolutely only a Sith? Yeah.
And I was like, pretty sure that's not right. And wasn't that Obi-Wan who said that in the movies?
Yeah. Obi-Wan.
I was like, that makes you a Sith, dude. Like,
it's a wink and a nod. Obi-Wan is secretly a Sith the whole time. It's my fan theory.
that would be awesome.
It was
That's
him
why.
being
That's why he created Darth Vader.
yeah, exactly. He's like, Vader,
Yeah.
we're on the same side, wink.
Oh, it's a travesty. I'll hunt him down and kill him. But he doesn't. He just kind of maims him, makes him more hateful,
Yeah,
and then makes sure he's alive to get in a suit. That makes him stronger.
I know. He's like, I'm gonna leave him there in complete agony because that's gonna make his dark side all the better.
He didn't even take away his lightsaber. He left it there.
Oh my
He left
god!
it
And
right
then,
by him.
and then when he was fighting him in A New Hope, he just kind of turned off his lightsaber and was like, "All right, go ahead and strike me down." Be like, "You got to kill these guys
Yeah.
for the greater Sith good."
He's like, all right, they turn the corner, they can't see anymore. Just go ahead and end it.
They did like a super slow motion, like just going through the motions fight, like wow, wow, and then he just
Clearly scripted.
oh, we just fixed Star Wars.
Yeah, because it's not like the choreographers didn't know how to make a fight. Watch Luke and Darth Vader, right? Or
Yeah.
Luke in any other fight. They know how to fight. They know how to make a good fight. They just didn't. So they're really
Yeah.
saying something. And then what happens to Obi-Wan? He
becomes
says,
a
"I'll become more
ghost and
powerful."
he
And he
just-
spies on freaking Luke.
He spies on Luke and reports back to him.
And he tells Luke to take a shot that he cannot make. But
And he makes him turn off the targeting computer. Why would you do that? He was working against him the whole time. And then he sends him off to some backwater swamp, just being like, "Yeah, there's like a crazy Muppet there. Go waste some time with that while we hunt down your friends."
and kill them all. Yeah. Oh man.
Oh my God, we just fixed Star Wars.
Why would you turn? Why would you turn off your targeting computer?
They can only help.
Turn off your calculator. You don't need it. No,
Yeah,
that's.
Well, I mean, I'm still gonna aim. I'll use the Force still,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I also want the computer to correct any mistakes. Nah, don't. The Force only
Turn it
works when the
What can
Force gets the electromagnetic field. Trust me on this one. It's gonna mess up the Force on that.
Can I just pull away from my eye?
Computer when he shot everyone else down. He
Can
never
I just
turned
pull
it
away
off.
from my
Nobody
eye?
was like, Lord Vader, why'd you turn off your targeting computer? I'm using the
Yeah.
Force. Oh, why didn't you say so? Yeah, just keep it turned off on yours at all times.
Oh my God. Yep, Obi-Wan's the enemy. Okay, we figured it out.
All right, but that's why you should never use absolutes in an academic paper.
Yeah, so that's fine. But she did. Anyway, new video. It's out, and it's talking about a positive female character, which I think is pretty cool, something we've been asking for a long time.
Yeah.
Did you watch it?
I did. It's called The Scythian. And did you ever play that game? It was about a game called Super Brothers: Sword and Sorcery with a W
Sorcery, yeah.
EP.
I didn't play it.
I had never heard of it either. It was a 2011 game apparently that just went right under my radar.
It was really popular on like Steam, so computer platforms. I'm not sure about the Xbox Live type crowd and the PS3 or PlayStation Store. I don't know if it was available there, but it got a lot of awards, man.
It looked kind of like a mobile game too. I wonder if it was on iOS.
Certainly could have been. Like, it was very simplistic, and so I think it snuck up on a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm surprised that she picked that of all the. I mean, of all the possible characters.
Positive female characters. Well, yeah, and this is supposed to be a series, right? So we'll probably get some more videos of other female characters, a few months or years down the line when she does another one. But she started with this one, The Scythian. So what do you think overall of the video?
I thought it was. I mean, okay, so main effect, like overall, good. Like I thought it was good. I liked the idea. I liked her execution, and I liked that she had a clearly written out thesis. You know what I mean? Like of here's what makes this character good. What
would you sum up her thesis as?
Okay, so you have a character that is a blank slate. so not writ. So you can't possibly be doing anything that would be kind of pigeonholing her, the character's a female, into her gender, you know. And so anyone can kind of project themselves onto it, which allows this is her argument, which allows men as well as women to empathize with the female and to be able to kind of put yourself in their shoes. Which I think the bigger picture. I think is she's trying to increase male apathy to female characters. Rather than typecasting them. So I think is that what you think is her thesis?
Yeah, no, I was trying to figure out what her thesis was. One of the things in my job is trying to find theses when I'm grading papers,
Okay.
and everything needs to build up to support your thesis. Every part of your paragraph should kind of link back to it. And so I was trying to figure out what her thesis was. But yeah, I think you're probably close with that. Like, this character is. She emphasizes that it's generically there's no real backstory, there's no real motivation, there's no complexity or development to the character. If people haven't seen the video, the character itself is like it's kind of this old school 8-bit kind of looking pixely character that you can't really tell that it's female. You just kind of find out by accident that it's female through some dialogue where people refer to her as a her. There's no like little pink bow in her hair or something she pointed out.
Yeah.
And I guess it was this kind of blank slatedness that lets us project ourselves onto the kind of a Zelda type silent protagonist. She made a lot of comparisons to the Zelda franchise. But yeah, I guess that it's she also kind of went off on she did something better than we do apparently, where she gave a big strong spoiler warning.
Yeah.
On the ending. So we'll go ahead and re-emphasize there's a spoiler coming up. If you're planning on playing Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery EP and you haven't played it yet, maybe skip ahead about 20 minutes because we're going to talk about the thing that she spoiled in the video.
In fact, yeah, you may even want to skip this whole episode because I'm sure we'll come back to it at some point. And plus, I mean, just wait to listen to this until you play the game because I had to make a decision whenever I was watching the video whether I was going to do that too. And I was like, I won't get around to it. I can barely play AAA titles or keep up with those for the podcast, much less, a game that was really good but came out a while back. So, yeah. So if you want to play it, you probably just want to skip this episode, go to the next one, or catch up on some old episodes. I know a lot of people are kind of skipping around a lot of content. So
come back after you've played it. So, spoiler warning. All right.
Yeah.
So she talks about how the character dies at the end and how her death is tragic because she's not killed to like motivate a male character or to fuel some kind of. She talks about how most violence done against women in video games is to like show how bad the bad guy is or fuel a tragic backstory. But this one dies because she makes the ultimate sacrifice, so it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So she's saying basically, I think she never explicitly said this, but I think part of the argument was that you can you could have switched her gender and made her male or female, and nobody would have noticed the difference, basically, because the story is the same. Like, it would have been if it was a male.
It was incidental, which is one of the things that we listed in our academic feminism episodes, something that feminists probably are looking for in positive female characters, so I feel somewhat validated in that assumption.
And I also liked how she pointed out that I think she has a good point when she said the part about the how it's a blank. This particular character was a blank slate, and so you could project yourself onto him. I know for myself, I always make myself in video games because like I play Star Wars or something, and I'm like, oh, I want to be a Jedi, so I just make my face as that guy, and I pretend it's me, and that's how I role play. Whereas some people can pick different roles, and then they're better at it. I guess they're probably better actors, maybe. But this helped me do that. I could, as I was watching this video, I never played the game, but as I was watching the video, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm with the plight there. I can get that. But I mean, maybe that's the first step in although, I mean, I've played games with girls in them. I love it. I just don't feel like it's me. I feel like I'm playing out their story,
Sure. It just depends on if you want to make it your fantasy or project, your fantasy onto some other character, or you just want to enjoy a different story. Like you started playing Life is Strange, right?
Yeah, it just started. I mean, the very beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're not going to feel like that's you. It's a teenage girl who's in a prestigious art school in like the Northeast somewhere. Right.
It's just like in The Last of Us. Whenever I played Ellie, I was all about helping her through the story, but I didn't feel like it was me because I'm not like a little girl. I've never felt what it's like to be I don't know, like emotionally, or not emotionally, sorry, physically, like
Right.
threatened, or emotionally too, I guess. People could take advantage of you. But you know, like I don't know what that terror is like. But as you're playing the game, it's same thing with the Walking Dead, the game by Telltale.
Uh-huh.
When I'm playing that game, I had a very real, more feeling of threat than I would otherwise. You know, like if I go jogging at night, you know, I'm 6'1" and I'm somewhat in shape, so I'm not that afraid of anything. Maybe it's wolves or something.
Right.
So I've never really experienced what it's like to be, you know, like a little girl or a female, maybe that's less.
There's a vulnerability there that you don't have to deal with because of you're a white male. You're probably not gonna be shot by the police if you run into them. Like you're probably not gonna get raped. So one of the advantages I think of not having these blank slate characters is it lets you walk a mile in some shoes that you normally don't get to walk in. That's like one of the values of role playing to me, is like I will never experience what it's like to be Ellie from The Last of Us, but at least I have a little bit of a experience like vicariously. Whereas if you're just always projecting yourself onto every character, you're more immersed, maybe, because you feel like you're in it, but you're not getting as much of a variety of life experience as you might have otherwise gotten.
Yeah, I mean that gets into some of the points that we disagree. Like so in summary, the things I agree with that she said that I think was pretty cool was, yeah, she picked a game where, you know, the armor was just like the rest of the other warriors you saw, that the gender was
chainmail bikini.
Yeah, no, exactly. And if it was, you can't tell because of those pixels anyway.
Yeah.
She wasn't sexualized. She did everything that, you know, Link does or any other hero does. I like how, you know, her death meant something. It wasn't meant to motivate someone else, although I don't have a problem with that. Like, whenever there's a guy that dies or girl that dies, it makes anything in any game or movie,
right.
It makes it more meaningful. And in fact, it's used so often now that you kind of, anytime I see a friend in a game or a movie, I'm like, guy's dying or a girl's dying.
Yeah.
It's not about being a guy or a girl.
I'm watching a new anime, and one of the characters died on the show, and I was like, no, and it was a guy, but like it really got me going, like, oh no, I like that guy, he's cool, I don't want him to die. Like it's a good emotional button to push if you want to like really get the feels going.
It doesn't have to be female. It could be like especially like another one is like sidekicks, right? Like whenever Robin died, I mean
everyone kind of voted for that.
But then again, like we also spoiled Chrono Trigger apparently, and that made someone very upset. So I feel a little bad about that. But on the other hand, 10 years, I mean, I don't know. So like when he dies, or there's a show called well, actually I won't say it. There's like well, no, I don't want to spoil that because it's current, but there's a lot of there's other movies where this happens where, like, you know, you've got let's say like you've got your main guy, he's the hero, like, you know, Batman or whatever. Then you've got some fanboy that's like kind of following him around and constantly trying to help, you know. So it would be like a Bucky Rogers thing, right?
Yeah,
and then
it's
Bucky
almost
Rogers, what happened?
Where like the sidekick really means well, but he's mostly in the way the whole time, but he finally does something awesome and dies saving the hero.
Yeah,
like it happens a lot.
Yeah, so this like perseveration over females in that character is just that's a construct she's making up, I'm pretty sure, or whatever feminist that she prescribes to, or feminist literature. I don't believe that that's true. So yeah, but I agree that in this one it did feel meaningful, and not that that's any different than other times, but like that's a good point that you made. It wasn't about some guy's journey. It doesn't matter, another person's journey. It has nothing to do with male and female in this case. A lot of times she's right, but this one doesn't matter. Like Captain America got pissed off when Bucky Rogers died. Batman got pissed whenever. It doesn't matter if it's a guy or girl.
Right.
But
Uncle Ben was a guy.
Yeah. Most
spoilers. Oh, hold on. Spoilers, guys. You guys haven't seen Spider-Man or read any comics for the past 60 years?
He died.
Go ahead and change the channel and come back in a few minutes. Yeah, Uncle Ben dies. He's a guy, and it's there to like encourage. Like, it's the most famous, I think, in the comic book world of heroes who have a tragic backstory is Uncle Ben's death.
Well, you think it was obvious, but remember, like in one of her old videos, she pointed out that Gwen Stacy dies as a motivator for Peter Parker, and I was like, good lord, dude, maybe you forgot that. That was a drop in the bucket compared to what Uncle
Spider-Man gets shit on a lot. That's kind of his thing, but the very first time was with Uncle Ben.
Yeah, and the most meaningful. He wouldn't even be wearing that outfit if it wasn't for
right.
Well, you know, he wouldn't be being a superhero. He might be wrestling.
Gwen's death like taught him like how to like snatch people out of the air without killing them. Like that was important, but not. They actually referenced that, and I for my birthday I bought the Superior Spider-Man hardbound collection, and there's a part where Peter is trying to rescue this girl who's falling, and he's like, okay, don't repeat your own mistakes. You know how to counterbalance the weight and where to shoot the web. So he's like trying not to snap her neck. And I was like,
Yeah.
Gwen Stacy reference, nice. But
Ugh.
yeah, so yes,
Yeah. First criticism is about the character, right? Like, I think that it's important to have, like, and one thing that she said was she wasn't sexualized. And I kind of have, like, I know that this is controversial, and I don't know if I'm right, but in my opinion, I don't care if they're sexualized. Like, you can have, like, Captain America is supposed to be a dreamy dude, right? Like, I don't know if he pulls that off for all women. Yeah, Thor, Jesus Christ, yeah, Thor. You know, like, all these...
Saturday Night Live, like, if I can be an incredibly handsome Australian and make it in Hollywood, anyone can.
With bulging muscles, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I don't agree with all that
People
bullshit.
said I'd never have sex with women because my penis was too large.
Yeah. Yeah. These so a sexualization, that's fine.
One of the videos that she's gonna make is with the tropes versus women. Like one of the ones she's supposed to have made 2 years ago, but it's still on the docket. Is fighting fucktoy is one of the tropes. So. I think anyone that's attractive that's also an action hero and female is going to be not okay by her trope.
And that's shitty in general, because we know in psychology that people consider people who are good looking less intelligent, which is unfortunate because that has no correlation with actual good lookingness, right? And so people like and penis size. No, because, like, you know, this has been held against women who are generally seen as, you know, a more attractive gender. They get higher ratings than men do, and so women. One of the things about that sucks is, like, women, since they're, you know, a lot of times more attractive on a scale, they're taken less seriously, which sucks. But part of that is because of prettiness, and so I think that might be what's going on here. She's devaluing, like, somebody, like, what a sexually attractive, you know, front woman can contribute, because she's pigeonholing them, ironically, as only a sex object, right? Instead of, like, no, she's attractive, of course she is, and she can dress however she wants. Like, I'm wearing a tank top right now, and I worked out. Look at my muscles, you know. Like,
you're welcome, ladies who are watching the YouTube right now.
You're welcome. No, it doesn't. I didn't wear it because of that, but I also don't want to feel, you know, like, I was like, oh, maybe I should change, you know, because I don't want to look like a douchebag. Because I feel that way sometimes too when I go to the store, because we're trying to get in shape for this stupid, not stupid, it's actually really cool. Races that we're doing, so, you know, my muscles are getting a little bigger, and then now I get sensitive about it. I'm like, oh man, I don't want to look like I'm one of these bros that walks around, you know, and is like, hey, where's the party at, you know?
Yeah.
God forbid I walk somewhere holding a beer right now. I feel like I look like a frat boy. So,
with the chin beard and the gelled hair and the.
Yeah, that's what I got. Yeah, dude, I look like a freaking frat boy. But, like, and so if someone judged me on that, though, they would have no idea that I run a gaming podcast, and that's like what I do.
It would be probably not fair to just, like, put you in that little box.
Yeah, and I don't like football. I don't do bro stuff. But whatever. Like, the point is that, you know, people would pigeonhole me in there, and ironically, that's the exact opposite, and that's what she's criticizing. She's thinking other people will do when she's doing it, and I don't think some people are, or at least I'm not. Like, Samus, she's pretty. She's not, like, you know.
You heard that song about Kraid finding out she's a girl when he blows her helmet off when he attacks, and he starts acting all nice to her.
Yeah.
Because that's the joke, is that's not really what happens. She's just a badass who's also attractive.
Exactly. Yeah. And God, they really de-emphasize it because she wears a suit the whole time.
Yeah.
Most of the time. But granted, they don't always do that well. They gave her spiky heels and stuff, which is bullshit. But whatever. The point is she's incidentally a female and incidentally badass, and she's pretty, and anyone in power is going to be attractive to both men and women. Mm-hmm. And so it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, look at Ronda Rousey, right? She grew up her whole life without a single boyfriend, basically, right?
Right.
Her whole life, and then all of a sudden she becomes the greatest female fighter of all time so far, and now she's. I mean, it's just. Have you seen that GIF of a girl's face and someone just chunks hot dogs at it, just tons of them, slam against their face?
No.
It's popular all over the internet. You can look that up. It's like a hot dog GIF meme or whatever, because it's a joke. Because what happens is someone will do something. You see this in, like, on Twitter and stuff too. Some girl will be like, "Hey, this actually just happened." Some girl was like, "Hey, I got my little kitty time," and someone was like, "Oh, you're playing with your put." You get the idea where that joke is.
Oh yeah, I see where you're going with that.
And all these people say, like, real gross stuff, and so people's responses, you know, who are trying to criticize those guys, they do that GIF basically, because they're like, "Dude, look, you guys are disgusting. Stop." Yeah.
But
Anyway,
it's kind of a no-win scenario with these. Like, you can't have an attractive protagonist, because I remember seeing her criticize old school Lara Croft, right? Because she had these huge boobs, and it was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, just fat fodder. It's huge boobs. But then she criticized
Which there's some fairness to that, though. I mean,
yeah.
surely you agree with that, right? The
No,
boobs.
no, I do. It's one of the reasons I never got into Tomb Raider is I just couldn't take the character seriously. It was just like,
Yeah.
it's like watching High School of the Dead, where you're like, this could be a good show, but I feel really awkward and embarrassed to be caught indulging in it, so maybe I
Yeah.
won't. So like, I just never got into Tomb Raider because I just felt kind of sleazy playing it. But the new Tomb Raider comes out, and she criticized the new design when they made her breast smaller, because they said they're trying to make her more masculine looking to be a better hero. Because it goes back to her "I'll make a man out of you" thesis, right? Like,
What the
in order to
hell?
make a woman heroic, they have to make them more masculine, so they de-emphasize her brests. It's like, well,
She just
which
has realistic boobs now. Like they're not small,
yeah,
but
she
they're
doesn't
not.
have pecs. They're not like she didn't become a man. She clearly still has breasts, but you see how there's no winning when you have this kind of like the only way to win appears to be just to have a blank slate that doesn't look male or female.
Yeah, like this is why we praised her last time, because one reactionary feminism is not helpful, right? It's like when we're playing Heroes of the Storm and we're playing and we all get into an engagement and we lose, and somebody on our team goes, "What the hell? I knew that was a bad fight." You're like, "What, dude? That's not helpful." After the fact, how about before? Be like, "Hey, we're missing a guy. Don't go in."
Let's not engage yet.
Yeah, exactly. So like that's what you need to do. Like let's say that the guys are a bunch of idiots and we don't know what it's like to play a game as a girl. It's true. So give us helpful criticism beforehand, right? Like say hey, if you're addressing the boob thing, because this is going to be a big deal, because that's the thing. If you have sexual organs that are up front and they're
front and center,
like it's hard to hide the formation of them unless you just wear a huge baggy shirt, and even then sometimes
right.
like, get that unfortunate thing there. Like if our penises were strapped on our chest, like we'd be dealing with the same
That'd be
thing.
awesome. Can you imagine a world like that?
Oh yes.
Walking around.
Worse.
Oh man, we get a taste of it though, right? Because like you can instantly judge. Women can instantly judge each other, like especially when they're growing up. Like some girls develop faster than others, and girls will stuff their bras or whatever. Like, can you just imagine like guys just stuffing like their tube socks like on their chest?
Yeah. No, it would happen. Like that's the thing. It's not uniquely feminine. It's uniquely because
it's an accident of physiology almost. It's just it's unfortunate that it's gonna happen.
Whatever. That's why there's perseveration over this sort of thing on both sides. But I think with her, like they made hers realistic. Like I didn't even, just because if they're huge, you can't help but notice them as a guy. Like you see them and you're like, jeez, like
settle down.
Yeah, exactly. And it just makes it awkward. Whereas, like, if it's normal, you don't even notice. You're just there was never a time where I was like looking and was like, oh man, she's got boobs. She was just a girl, right? She's just a person. Unless they really stick out and are crazy, then it's fine.
There wasn't like a "my eyes are up here" moment with the new Lara Croft.
Yeah, and they had like clothes tearing stuff, but they had it like down in her, ribs where she got stabbed and like things like that. Like it was never like the shitty, oh my clothes are tearing only on my boobs thing.
Battle damage, just where it's sexy and cute.
Yeah. Although I don't know, I'm not against this whole. I'm kind of in your camp. I'm not for the whole sex negative movement of if she's sexy and she wants to show her body off, let her do it. But she's not a real character, so who cares?
Yeah.
In real life, whatever.
Right.
Like
real life Lara Croft can do it.
You've got a very short window of attractiveness in this world.
Like live it up.
Yeah, it's time. Just do it, man. Like you're
fighting a losing battle against gravity and age. So like. If you want to wear that muscle shirt, Jeremiah, you do it. Because when you're 60, it's not going to look that great.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's what I mean. It's like Betty White, like famously, I guess she has some pictures that she took of herself. Not herself. She has nude pictures or something. And someone was like, "Is that weird?" And she goes, "Hell no, that's awesome. That's how I want people to remember me. I don't want to remember this. I'm not going to take off my shirt now." And I was like, it's that same concept, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. Your body's your own. Your decisions are your own. Just go do your thing. I'm all about empowerment, not shouting people down. But whatever. Anyway, the point is,
one interesting thing about the game mechanics, it's not really feminist related, but I like the way that after every boss fight, she actually lost a heart. Like she got weaker. Like the quest was taking something away from her. It's just like an inversion of the Link trope of like getting a heart piece every fight.
Yeah, getting stronger.
Yeah.
I'm surprised she didn't jump on that, because you could be like, oh, how come the girl gets weaker?
Right. No, yeah. And kudos to kudos to her for not like taking that easy pot shot of like, oh, this is showing that men get stronger when they fight and women get weaker when they try and take on masculine roles or something. Like, it actually served a thematic element, and she picked up on that. So as a literary critic, or as a media critic in her case, like, that was good criticism. That's the kind of good criticism you want to see in a paper or, you know, a thesis or something.
Yeah, and I like that she's focusing on the positive, like from the beginning. And this has been my criticism from the beginning. Anytime you're gonna do conflict resolution, always start and overemphasize the positive. Like, some guy told me in marital therapy, he was like, and I may have already used this example, but he said, he goes, well, when she gets a hollering, she won't hush, and I gotta hit her. And I was like,
that's fair.
Like,
fair point. We're like, touche, sir.
Yeah, I just gave him a high
my job here is done.
Yeah, I'm like, why are you guys here? You guys got something that clearly works. But,
it's a good system.
Inside, I'm obviously like, holy shit. Like, not only is he unabashed about it, he's defending it to me, who he knows is probably not going to be for this.
Probably not going to be on board with that. Probably
not on board with that. Which, anyway, like, so what I did was, you always have to start with positive. I was like, well, I'm actually, I appreciate the fact that you were able to be honest about that and tell me, and that you feel like you didn't have anything to hide. So, and I like the fact that you've got something that works, or that's working for you, because apparently she stops whenever you hit her in and around the face multiple times. Yeah. Okay. Well, what if we could do something that didn't harm your wife, that chose to spend the rest of her life with it? I didn't quite put it that way, but you get the point. You start with the good, even in cases with obvious wrong, where there's nothing right about it. You can find right if you're good. And so I like that she's doing that now. That she's, even if in a situation where a guy's slapping his wife because she talks too much, then if I can find a good there, then surely the video game system of 2015, you can find something good to say. So I'm glad that she's doing that. She really needs to overemphasize that, because the person on the other side gets defensive, and their little reptilian brain goes crazy, and they feel like they're fight or flight, and they're like, well, fuck you, I'm not going to listen to anything you say.
And then you have to disable your comments because people are getting mean.
Yeah, or giving dissenting opinions. Yes, she does get harassed, and yes, it's awful, and no, she should never that should never happen. But she's also muting people who, maybe it should be regular, rational people, or I don't know, research it like I do. I try to comment on or Twitter. Was it Twitter? Or YouTube? It was some forum, and I was like, this has an assumption that media affects behavior, and it doesn't, and sexual appetite. And there's all evidence that we have suggests that you have a sexual appetite, and it doesn't change based on what you look at. So, because some people at the time thought you could become gay by looking at porn, and eventually you would be like, oh man, I just want to explore different kinds. This old stuff's getting old, and then you'd move into like gay or torture porn or whatever horrible thing. Well, it turns out we found that that's not true. In fact, there was a paper out of Italy that they published that, and it was funded by the Family Center. It's basically like the folks on the Family folks here, and somehow it made its way into a journal because they never said who funded them, and they systematically got shut down. It's like the vaccine thing, it doesn't cause autism, and somehow it said it did and got in a journal, and God forbid now, because everybody's like, oh, pornography leads to pedophilia, and I'm like, no, you either are a pedophile or you aren't, and you may not discover that for some time, but you never you might discover you had a hunch because you see a little child and you become sexually aroused, but you may not know to the extent of it. But people don't change. They're over time their stays relatively stable. So anyway, same thing here. Like, I tried to comment on that, and I had no way to do it. And I was like, well, how do you get like actual academic folks like myself to be able to engage with you? You'd think that would be worthwhile. I like it when people talk to me on Twitter or wherever if they've been researching it. So
it's not even an echo chamber. It's just a monologue.
Yeah, a diatribe.
Yeah.
Talking head, but unfortunately.
But yeah, this time she gave an example of something that's actually working. It was an obscure example. I hope that in the future, when she does more of these, because this is a series, I hope that she chooses more mainstream, because there are really good feminists. We listed a ton of great feminist characters in video games in our episode. So I hope that she pulls off one of those, just because it's going to give a wider audience like a better idea of what she's looking for. Like, you don't have to have a pixelated indie game to have a good feminist hero, and you don't have to have a blank slate who has no background and no personality to be a good feminist hero. Like, if all of her heroes end up being like that, then I'll be a little upset, because I feel like a well-written character can also be a good feminist protagonist. So I'm curious as to who her other 4 or 5 months down the line, when she makes another one of these videos, who the next one's going to be.
Well, yeah, I mean, the characters that have struck me the strongest have been all voiced by Troy Baker. I come to think of it, but like in The Last of Us, you've got you're like, dude, like you're with it. I'm. Whenever he's like, oh shit, where's Ellie? I'm like, fuck, like I'm holding that control stick as hard as I can. Like I'm in it, right? I'm in this game. You got it. You got me sold. Same thing with like with Booker DeWitt from Bioshock Infinite, or even Batman. Whenever like near the end of, I won't say any spoilers, but near the end of one of the games, you're kind of in this emotionally. I'm all about it.
Yeah, I'm the same way with Laura Bailey. Like the characters that she voices in video games, they tend to be some of my favorite characters. They're really strong. Like Lucina from Fire Emblem Awakening. It's a great character, like great feminist heroine. Or who else? Jaina Proudmoore.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of really great voice acting that like really puts you into like, it makes you more concerned about the character, and so the blank slate's just not always the way to go. It's an interesting place to start. I'm just curious to see if that's going to be more of the future, or if she's going to go into more developed, better written characters next time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm just glad she's putting stuff out. Like that's one of the criticisms of her is that she just like 2 episodes a year. That's crazy. And like put out more, because right now it's a big topic, and game developers are looking for feedback, right? Like,
clearly Blizzard is like listening, right? With
they mentioned it at BlizzCon, and Heroes of the Storm, they actively made characters that they said the purpose was to do that. Even Jaina Proudmoore, which is one of their, she's like a pretty blonde girl, right? Basically, that's how she looks. And they decided on some wardrobe changes kind of to make her, to de-emphasize that. So
yeah,
like
and they included
body.
things like Sonya, like a barbarian, a female barbarian. So different body type. It inverted the normal gender role. Like I can't think of a more masculine fantasy archetype than Conan the Barbarian, right? Like that's one of the oldest archetypes of masculine fantasy things. And Blizzard was like, all right, we're gonna make Sonya the female Diablo barbarian.
Yeah, and they made the tank, the siege tank, a female
Also
when in the
female.
game, and all since the siege tanks have begun, and like what,
they always sound like
1994 or
Colonel
whatever.
Sanders or something, right? They're
There's always a guy. He's like let's roll out. It's
Man, I'm a deep country boy, and I'm a Duke of Hazzard kind of guy.
Yeah, so it's the quite the opposite. But now it's this girl who's it's this female, and she's curvy or whatever. She's a little overweight. Like they're definitely changing things up. So
yeah,
I wish you put out more.
Rounder.
Which is kind of like okay, and this is bad whenever Fox News is calling you out for being too conservative. That actually happened.
Yes.
John Stossel, he's a business network guy. He was like, he started defending violent video games because he's like, hey, it's no big deal. And more importantly, the idea that we can't contextualize things. His main thesis of his argument was that, guys, we understand things in context. If I'm playing a video game that's violent, I don't turn to the person next to me and then I'm like, oh, I was just killing people in this game, therefore my brother needs to die as well. It doesn't
when
happen.
Fox News is calling you out on not paying attention to the science, like you might need to do your homework.
They're like, guys, it's not that big of a deal. You're really making this no big deal, says Fox News. Like, you got a problem.
They're like,
So that was
global warming, clearly a hoax, but come on, the science just is not in on this one.
yeah. Evolution, we're not sure about that one. I mean, we're pretty sure that doesn't exist. But come on, violence, video games.
There's no connection to real world violence with video games. There just isn't. There's the paper, the science does not agree with you on this, Anita.
Sorry. So, and therefore you should change your opinion. That's the best part.
And therefore you should change your opinion. When you're too far off of silence, when you're too far into pseudoscience that even Fox News is calling you out, there's a problem.
Yeah, and that would be the first part of the criticisms against her in general. I think I'm going to reserve all my criticisms because they may be fruitless and silly based on like kind of like what you said. I want to see what the next video comes out is, because this one, it's hard to go wrong. This one, I don't know, it was only like 3 minutes long, and it was
like 7. Yeah.
A 7, okay, and it was like it was just like a couple scenes like of the same game.
Oh, another positive thing though I wanted to mention before we listen to any criticisms is it was clear. It seemed to me that she'd actually played the game, and like she was walking us through like the way a reviewer would do of a game she's played. Like it felt different from other games she's done in the past where she's just borrowing screen caps from other people's channels and talking about them. Like it really felt like she had played through the game, she had beaten the game, and now she wanted to review the game. It almost felt like a video game review more than a feminist lecture.
That's what kind of caught my eyes, because maybe she's trying to pull down the scope of her channel, but all previous ones have been, it's a general idea supported by evidence from a lot of different games, right?
Evidence, yeah.
Huh? What?
Sorry, yeah. The word evidence kind of throws me when we're talking
Oh,
about
well,
those examples. But yeah, I see what you're meaning. By
she
supporting,
puts forth
yeah,
real world examples. I'll put
right,
it that way. Real world demonstrations,
sure, yeah,
alleged demonstrations of it. And so, but this one was just one game, and it's one of the shortest games on Steam. And so I was like, that's a little suspect considering a lot of people. She addressed some criticisms of like the fact that she doesn't say when it goes right. That was good. But she didn't address some of the criticisms of people like, are you really a gamer? You know, do you really play games? And not that you need to be to criticize games, but to understand context of things. Like whenever she showed the Hitman video of dragging people around, she's like, you're actually incentivized to kill women. And I'm like, actually, look, it says negative $1,700 every time you do it. The whole point of the game is to get money so you can buy better equipment and be a better hitman. So
you're being de-incentivized.
You're being punished on the only currency that matters in the game. There's no other currency. Like, how could you possibly be, like, as a behaviorist who sets up behavioral economies, you are wrong. I'm an expert on this. You're just wrong. Like, so
I know, and it's like Siskel and Ebert being like, well, we don't really watch movies much, but saw the trailer. Looks like it's pretty shitty. I saw the Inception trailer. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of bomb. So I don't know. I'm gonna assume it's about an orchestra that tries to take over the world. 2 thumbs down.
I don't see how putting monkeys in movies is gonna make it more interesting. Shows King Kong, you know, and it's like I don't even know who wants to watch a zoo. It's a zoo show, and you're like, what? No, what?
Did you watch it? I caught the trailer. Looks kind of bad.
I kind of phoned it in. That's what I thought about this particular one, and like I said, I'm reserve all judgment for because to speak on a trend, you have to have a trend, but it feels like she's kind of just phoning this one in. And I know she's super popular now, so she's got a lot of media things she needs to do, and I get it. Yeah. But you know, then you see these people who have full-time jobs and they're YouTube people who put out a polished YouTube video every week, you know, or every month, or every day sometimes. That's crazy, but you can do it, you know, if you're really passionate about what you do. And
yeah, and if you're being maybe incentivized with $440,000 a year, like to
whatever,
do it. Like just off the top of my head, yeah.
Yeah, people aren't paying you explicitly on Kickstarter. You have a contract, right? You say, here's what I'm going to provide, and here's the money I need, and then anything left past that, you can do, I think, whatever you want with it. I'm not sure about the terms on that, but she agreed to release like 12 videos or whatever. She was paid $440,000 to do it. Yeah, and it's gotten so egregious that even Forbes magazine, you know, was like wrote about this, about her, broke down her budget.
Yeah, she actually released budget details. Should we go into that? Anything else you want to say about the movie?
Yeah. Let's no, I just feel like it was limited scope. It felt like a phone-in, and she took one of the shortest games on the entire, in all of gaming to play, which just to me, that's not what I would do if I was responding to criticism that, you know, or very possibly valid criticism that you're not actually playing games, you know, like you can't be a game critic without playing games. That's the criticism. I don't fully agree, but you're right. It takes away 99% of your validity when you do that. But
right. I'd say it's a good step in the direction of like highlighting things that are working well. That's part of what you have to do when you're proposing solutions. I think it's a weird choice for the first one in the series to pick such an obscure game that is so short, like you said, and so it's not obscure in that nobody's heard of it, because, you know, I haven't heard of it, but apparently it did win a lot of awards. But it's obscure in that it's a retro indie Zelda clone. It's not really symptomatic.
Game, you just click.
Yeah, it's not really symptomatic of what's going on in gaming right now. It's more of an anomaly than a game.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I love games that are weird. Like, I love, you know, Child of Light. Like, it was weird. It was more of an experience than it was a game, to be honest. And I like weird games like that, like Sword and Sorcery, like that game she was referencing. But like you said, it's not. Whenever you collect data, it's called a nomethetical approach, where you take kind of the whole distribution, and then you strike in the middle, right? Like you say, on average, games are this, right? So you want to take something that's an exemplar of that average. So the one to me that stood out, I was like, why did you not pick Ellie or from The Last of Us, or the wife from The Last of Us? What was her name? I can't remember her name. Or the Firefly leader. Remember the person of color, the black lady who was a badass, and she was clearly as much of a player as Joel was, if not, well, actually way more of a player than Joel was, and she was a strong feminist type. Anyone from that game would have been perfect, and it was one of the biggest selling games. And
if you're going back to older games like Mirror's Edge or Beyond Good and Evil's protagonist. Like, if you want a protagonist of a game, like, I feel like there were better choices that'd be more representative, and that lends credence to your argument, right? Like, if you put forth, if we're having a fight and like you bring up something super obscure that like I did like in 7th grade on like a that I don't even remember anymore, like it doesn't really like it's not a great example to use, right? But if you bring up Mario or something that's more mainstream, it's going to lend more weight to your like, oh, this is a great feminist hero, and look, she's in this game. Like, maybe she's trying to highlight, she might be trying to highlight like an obscure heroine because she feels like people didn't know about her, and therefore they're missing out on like what a great feminist character looks like. But again, it seems like a weird choice for me. I would have put that maybe 2nd or 3rd in my list of videos of positive feminist role models if I was Anita, but you know, that's just my feedback.
I would have done like an addendum. It's almost like a DLC in my opinion. Like, it's so short, the game, and it's so like not mainstream. Like, I doubt anyone she's even talking to has played it. Maybe like what 0.01% of her audience, maybe. Mm-hmm. So like, what? Why? We just use someone like, I mean, for God's sakes, Ellie. Like, what the hell? Like, from Last of Us, she's a badass. She even like she stabs like dudes, like full-grown men. And she's a little girl.
And she got her own DLC. Like, she's the main character, and she's
the main character of the original one.
She's the main character in half of the original one, and in the second one, she's the only character playable.
Well, but that's the thing. Like, it's more. Joel doesn't matter. Like, you know, in the whole game.
No, when I'm talking main character, I'm talking who you're playing as, who you're projecting yourself onto. Like, you said yourself that you feel more like a Joel, and you like playing as Joel because you felt like Joel because you can relate to him. He's the protagonist, except for the parts where you play as Ellie, which are not as many as when you play as Joel. But if you look at the second DLC, Ellie, it becomes the main protagonist. Like, you play as her for most of the DLC.
Yeah.
So she could have easily taken either of those games.
I think he's the game protagonist, but I feel like the narrative protagonist is her. Like, if he disappeared,
it's still him. He's like, from a narrative perspective, he's making the decisions while she's unconscious. Like, at the big decision at the end, she has no agency there. It's all on him. Now, she's a very important secondary character, but if she's looking for a protagonist, she doesn't have to just look at The Last of Us. There's a lot of female protagonists that she could have gone to that are like the main character.
Like, okay, I don't know why you wouldn't, or just take Samus and be like, okay, in this one, Other M, she was, you know, not a feminist icon, right? Mm-hmm. She was treated like a little girl, and you know.
Yeah, she can compare Other M to Metroid Prime or Metroid for the Nintendo or something. Like, there's a way of arguing. I forget the name, but there's a Latin name for it, where you're gonna frame the other person's argument in the best possible light and frame yours in the worst possible light in order to prove your point as strongly as possible. I feel like that would have been it's like off Fortiona or something. I forget. There's probably Latin people who could tell me, but that's a really effective rhetorical device. Is saying like, okay, here's the best possible way of presenting Samus as a, you know, whatever the opposite of your thing is. If you think games are sexist, then really go after the games that disprove your point and present them in the best possible light.
That's what we do, in science papers too. Like, we deconstruct our own argument as much as we can before we make our own point. Right. And so, but as a trend, like, her videos and stuff are getting better, and her. I don't know about her talks. I've seen a couple of them, and they're still pretty inflammatory. Like, she said things like, well, we know video games, you know, affect behavior. There's been decades of research on this. And I was like, I turned it off right then.
There has been decades of research, but it's not supporting your point.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, yes, there has. But unfortunately.
You should probably look at the research, though.
Well, that's the problem. Like, we have a responsibility as scientists to control for all variables, right? Like, because if I just measure main effect, you get things like freakonomics, where you're like, oh, people who mow their own grass are more likely to be billionaires, and then people think that that's causal, right? It's not, and that's a real statistic. It's true, but or billionaires are more likely to mow their grass, and vice versa, I guess. But the point is that those aren't causal. Clearly, there are mediating variables there, or moderating variables, that are infecting that relationship, and has nothing to do with, you know, them mowing the lawn. Right. So the same thing like violent video games. They were like, oh, look, people who play video games or violent video games at a young age end up in juvie more. And I'm like, well, yeah, because they're 7 and their mom's buying them, like, you know, GTA. Yeah, that's a bad mom. That's not has nothing to do with the violent media.
It's just bad parents make bad kids. It's not a sexy headline.
I know, and exactly. So like people got really obsessed with the violent thing without controlling for third variables, which was the whole criticism that started this new movement in non-causationists. So same thing here with Anita. I'm like, settle down with that. We know that, you know, someone who's a misogynist, like an actual, I hate that word, just like I hate homophobia.
Yeah.
Nobody's homophobic, or they may be, but I just call them dicks. They're just assholes. Like,
Yeah.
just stop being an asshole. Let that person do whatever he or she wants to do.
They're not terrified of gay people. They just don't want to sell them pizzas at their wedding, which is stupid. I can't imagine any gay people want pizzas at their wedding reception, but it doesn't make them homophobic. They're just assholes.
Right. Like, a phobia is a real thing, and so I hate that. And same thing with misogynists. There are misogynists. There are people who hate women, and they're bad people. There are misandrists, people who hate men.
I'm something of a misanthrope. I hate humans.
Yeah, like, well, you're using it kind of colloquially and as a joke,
Yeah.
and like that's what I mean. It's like misogyny, same thing. Like, that's a very severe thing. If someone does that, that person needs to be locked up and put away. If someone who just can't empathize with a woman is because he's never lived a life with them, a life as a woman, then I get that. That's something I can understand. I don't think it's okay, but I understand it.
Right.
Anyway, so for here, I like. Oh man, where's I going with that? Some misogyny, but. Anyway, I like that she's moving. My whole point was I like that she's moving more towards a reasonable standpoint, and that she's beginning to address some of the criticisms rather than just listen to her echo chamber and then pretend that everyone that disagrees with her is a woman hater.
Right.
Because I'm an academic. I don't hate women. I love women. And in fact, you could ask my wife or anyone around me. I regularly empower women. Like,
some of my best friends are women.
As a joke, like my wife just posted this on Facebook. I'm not kidding. This just got posted. She was like, she couldn't reach something from the top counter, and she goes, "Jeremiah, can I borrow your tallness?" And I said, "No." And I walked up and I lifted her up and I go, "I empower you to do things. I won't do them for you." And then she laughed and she's like, "No, but that's true. You do." And I was like, "See, I do. Like, I'm clearly an ally." But I also it's also okay for me to
self-appointed ally. Okay.
Oh God. Like, yeah, exactly. Okay, then there's no winning. Then I'm whatever you call me.
Good.
Unless it's a misogynist, because I'm not.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, see, there's no winning. Anyway, whatever. Yeah. The whole point is, and I'm a big proponent of women's UFC. I don't like it's called women MMA. It should be called MMA because they're doing the same thing guys are doing, and we don't call it men's MMA. I'm all for women's rights, and I'm not just saying that like some people do. I really am, and I actively fight for it. But I also disagree with Anita Sarkeesian. That population exists. Stop pretending it doesn't.
It's not causative. There's a correlation.
Yeah.
So she released her fundraising breakdown, her Kickstarter breakdown.
And
First off,
she
made way more money last year than I thought she did. $440,000 in 2014. $441,930 to be precise, from donations. Most of that in the fourth quarter. I wonder what happened. Like, it was like
tax.
First quarter was $1,500, second quarter $3,500, third quarter $39,000, and then $397,778 in the fourth quarter from donations.
That's crazy. So if it was a tax purpose, then it was clearly that's a business thing because you do your a lot of, or at least the businesses I worked for, did their donations in the fourth quarter.
Okay.
Right before tax season, but because it minimizes. So what happens is you give away the money, but then you basically get it right back. So in the fourth quarter, whereas if you did it in the first quarter, you'd have to wait 3 quarters to get it back, or by way of tax breaks. So essentially, you get it back. But if that's the case, then that means that's corporate donations towards her, right? Crazy. That's all. I mean, it's. I don't like her work, but I like that people are dumping money into this movement. I just wish it was into someone who was better.
Good research.
Yeah.
Well,
I could do it.
She also did she broke down what the money actually went to. It was kind of vague and just percentages, but doing the math, how much money she got, and the percentages, so you can kind of get an idea of how much money she spent on everything in 2014. So the biggest expenditure for her. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, this makes more sense. Go ahead.
Okay, so the biggest expenditure to her was salary and wages, 44%. So in other words, she paid herself and anyone else on her staff. I don't know if she has people working for her or not, but just as salary and wages, so that ends up being $194,449.
Holy shit! Plus she's getting paid to speak at these places. It's usually paid at least. That's insane.
So that was the largest, and then taxes. No, equipment was the next biggest one. Interestingly enough, so equipment. just an estimation off of 444,000. She spent 16% of that on equipment. I don't know, like webcams and computers and whatever else she needs for her show. So that comes out to $70,400 last year.
What
on her
the
equipment.
fuck? What the fuck? Okay, hang on. We're gamers, and we review games, not like she does, but like
We
when we
actually
do
play 'em?
computers. Yeah. When we do computers, which are the most expensive, like mine costed like $2,000 or something. It was a lot, and so was yours. So collectively, we spent $4,000 on just that.
Yeah,
Let's say we
throwing
also
my
bought
Wii,
every
my
console.
3DS, some of the games. We probably didn't break 5,000 last year.
No, in 1 year? No.
But that's not counting the games and systems. This is just equipment. This is like webcams. This is microphones. This is video editing software. Games and systems is a whole separate expenditure. She spent 5% of her revenue on that, which comes out to $22,000 in gaming and systems.
There's no way, dude. If you gave me, and I'm assuming she's right. Like I'm not calling her a liar, although. Holy shit! Like that, I'm just flabbergasted. I'm like, how? If you gave me $22,000, I don't think I could spend it in 1 year on video games. And I fucking love video games.
Yeah, you have to buy all the Steam. Like you just have to buy Steam from Gabe Newell.
Yeah, all the Steam. Yeah, I mean, like I think if I had $22,000 in my PlayStation Network and I went on the store, I don't think I could break 3,000 or 4,000. I don't think I could. How would you? That's insane. Okay, maybe I am getting a little critical of that because that's insane. I don't in a year.
Yes.
Like she's been doing this for a while, so she's got some games, she's got some consoles, probably. She's got a computer, I imagine. What do you? Okay, maybe I am skeptical of this one. I didn't want to be because I feel like that's like I don't like to call people liars, but holy shit. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well.
$22,000.
So it's and you know what? Let's see. That number might be off. Sorry, I'm looking at this. She's a nonprofit now, so this is like a lot of it's tax deductible.
Okay.
But this breakdown is actually the way she spent the funds she raised for those 12 episodes for Tropes versus Women, that Kickstarter. So this is not the $440,000 she raised. So really, we're talking the $164,000. So that's going to change the numbers a little bit.
Oh, okay, thank God.
So it's going to be an $8,200 on games and systems.
Oh, that's
just still seems
better?
really high.
Better?
Still seems incredibly high.
If I bought 7 computers as good as mine is now, mine's a really good computer. Like, we spent a lot on it. It's still nowhere near. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's so that means that for equipment she spent. I'm reading this right. Again, it's really vague because she's talking about 2 separate numbers here, but I think this is just for her Kickstarter campaign, the money she raised for that, which means that the $440,000 she raised last year was when she became a nonprofit, which is probably why she's having to report things.
Okay. All right.
So the equipment is she spent $25,600 on equipment.
Wow, that's still a lot in 1 year, but I don't even know what it takes to do what she does, but I have a webcam. It's not amazing, but it's pretty good. And I think, I don't know, editing software is free.
She's paid herself a salary from that 2012 Kickstarter, which, by the way, hold on, her salary for that, $74,800. So in case you're curious, she paid herself a salary that all right, so let me propose something to you. I'm a teacher. Let's say they sign me up to teach 9 months of the year, right?
Okay.
Let's say I showed up for 4.5 of those months.
Okay.
Would I get paid almost $80,000 that year?
No.
Her Kickstarter, the money she raised and all these stretch goals she hit was to make like 12 episodes. She made 6. I think the 7th one is this one we just watched.
Actually, no, because the Tropes in Video Games is the series that she's being paid for. Or I guess she's being paid for all of them, but that was a contract.
Okay, so she's done 6 of that series since 2012. So it's over 2 years, it's almost 3 years now, since she contracted with the crowdsourcing. I mean, use contract loosely because it's nothing's really binding on Kickstarter. But she promised her revenue givers. She promised her shareholders 12 videos. She's made 6, and she's going to do them in like 6 months. She's done 6 in 2.5 years, and paid herself almost $80,000. It just seems very dishonest to me, and makes. I know it shouldn't. Like it's a kind of an ad hominem way of looking at her arguments, but it makes me. It predisposes me to be skeptical of anything else she says, which is good because she says a lot of other things that aren't true when it comes to scientific data.
Well, and I think that's overall one of the criticisms that I actually get on board with. Like I find myself agreeing with her a lot, but one of the things that like I really get upset about is her methodology. Like she doesn't, first of all, overall philosophically, she's not approaching it correctly, like in an academic sense. But more importantly, not more importantly, but also importantly, is that you can tell she's like phoning it in. She's not. A lot of people have suspected, and I'm in this camp too, that she's not playing these games, because she'll say weird off the wall stuff like that, like Hitman, where they're like, you're incentivized to kill them, and I'm like, no, there's only one behavioral economy, well, there's a few, but the only one that's actually monetary is in the game that actually affects anything in the game is money, and you're not. So, I don't think she's actually doing the work that she's either pretending she's doing or enough work to be able to criticize it, right? Because then you get this one that came out, and it's one game. It's one of the shortest games on the market, and it's a phone-in. There's no playing it. You just click.
Right, and if she needed $8,200 to buy the games, and then I think that the other expense was all the painstaking research, is what her Kickstarter video described, was like painstaking research is what you're funding. Let's play a game called Quoting Anita Sarkeesian or Reading Wikipedia. You tell me which one I'm doing right now. The word damsel derives from the French demoiselle, meaning young lady, and the term damsel in distress, in turn, is a translation of the French demoiselle en détresse.
I don't know. Wikipedia?
Both. That was a trick. A lot of this painstaking research is just pulling up Wikipedia articles and reading them.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, this is an important topic. My wife is a gamer, right? And she's experienced some of this. And I logged in one time as her to help her complete some of her quests, and I just got like treated totally differently than I did otherwise. And that's not a large enough sample to generalize, but it was eye-opening. It's sort of like whenever I went to a convention.
Was that on Heroes of the Storm?
Yeah, it was on Heroes, which is one of the better communities, at least in MOBAs.
What's her name on that? Is it like a distinctly feminine one?
Jedi.
Oh yeah, that'll do it. Anything with pink in it's gonna get a lot of hate.
It was stupid, and then I was gonna say I'm an excellent player. So I am currently a better player than my wife is. So I got on her account, which was lower. So I'm playing with people that aren't probably ostensibly better than me, aren't as good as me, and they were pointing at me like they're like, oh, you play the game more. I was like, I've played the hundreds of thousands of games by now. I played on a semi-pro team. I know what I'm talking. It's not me, guy. It's not me. And then they're like, hey man, well why don't you come and join our team? I was like, no, you guys are assholes. And they're like, well come on man, we need a hot girl on our team. I was like, wow. First of all, I'm a dude.
So second of all, you assume I'm a hot girl from the name Pink Jedi?
Yeah, exactly. And third of all, you're inviting me even though you think I suck just because I'm a girl. Fuck you.
Yeah, no, there's a problem here. Like, it would be a great. You remember the movie / book Black Like Me, where the person like is trying to pass as an African American just to see how they're treated, and it's really eye-opening. Like, that's kind of what you did, right? It's like Woman Like Me, right? Like, you played it on an early account and you saw how you were treated differently. There are problems here. This is something that needs to be addressed, and Anita Sarkeesian is addressing a problem that needs addressing. Our problem is not with her goal or with her stated goal. Our problem is with her methodology and with her honesty, really. That's one of my problems anyway. It's just it feels like a scam, and maybe I've just got a high threshold for feeling like I'm scammed because I've been scammed in the past, but it makes me feel like I need to take a shower.
Yeah, and yeah. And we shouldn't be shouting down like this is a problem with feminism overall, that, or at least this is a common criticism. I'll say I can't really say if it's a problem, but I too have felt this. Feminism in general, they shout down their opponents or mute them or disable comments and things, which is helpful if you're a minority of some kind. But one of the criticized one minority that's highly selected against, at least in research, is atheists, right? So people who don't believe. Oh man, I went to a convention with some of my friends to visit. Like I'm not an activist or anything, but went down there and they were wearing shirts that say atheist on, right? It says because there was a convention, it was American Atheists, and I'm walking with them. I'm not wearing one of these shirts, but we're walking together to go to Beale Street to have a couple drinks. They were done with their convention stuff. I went to go with them, and we got harassed like crazy. Like it was very eye-opening for me because I don't wear atheist shirts. I don't call myself an atheist. It's
right. And that just goes to show there is something to do with like privilege, right? Like you've never had to experience that because you've got that white male privilege. Like it's not a made-up thing. You are lucky to be a white male in this country.
Yeah,
and it's like, really eye-opening when you're exposed to like what minority groups feel. Atheists or women or black. Like women aren't really a minority, but they're treated like one.
Mm-hmm. They're like a power minority, right? Not like a numbers,
not like a
majority numbers,
minority, right? So I don't know. Like I guess that's why I'm so hard on Anita Sarkeesian, or why I feel so disappointed in this, is because I see the problem is so real, and she has the platform to really address it with good quality research.
That's my problem with feminism too. Like obviously, like I fight for my wife all the time and encourage her to do things. Like she's become a huge badass since like we met. She was very big into this narrative of women should be stay at home and submit to their husbands and stuff. And now she's like kicking ass at like CrossFit and like getting into like MMA type fighting stuff. I mean, she's a badass. So I'm all for it. And then so whenever I speak out against feminism, I speak out against men's rights stuff too. I don't. It's not that I disagree with the movement. It's like some people will deny. They'll be like, no, women don't have it as bad as men, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe they don't, but I know in some cases they do, and I know in some cases dudes have it worse. Like we're not allowed. There's no rights for men. We have to sign up for selective service before we get anything, welfare, anything. So we actually don't have rights as a male. So that sucks. But in general, I don't know which one has it. Where I'm sure women do because historically they have. So I'm imagining that's still the case. I think that's the null hypothesis for me. You'd have to prove otherwise, but but the way that they're engaging with people is just, I mean, scientifically incorrect, and so like I'll speak out against them a lot, like, and then I get called misogynist, and I'm like, no, dude, I'm for you. I'm saying you're hurting yourself, and so same thing here. Like, I'm with you. I agree with the movement. I don't agree with how she's doing it, and more importantly, like it feels dishonest. Like have someone who's really hardworking be put in that spot, and I feel like there'd be a lot more done. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah. I mean, she is. I mean, if she's just in it for the money, she's getting that. In 2014 she made $441,000 and her expenditures were $64,000. So the rest of that is just walking around money. So maybe she's just really smart and she found an economic niche that she could exploit, but I wish that she would do more than just that. I'm fine with her getting paid for her work. I'm fine with her getting paid more than me, This isn't like an envious thing. Like I didn't sign up to be a teacher because I was like, man, I really want to get financially recompensed. I just I find satisfaction in my job, and that's part of the pay for me. So this isn't like me being bitter that she's getting paid that much. It's just you can get paid a lot and also do more than 2 videos a year.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that you get these she put some videos up on our MySpace back in the day. And one of them was a picture, and it just said, "Man, this is so damning." And I'm sure this could happen to anyone, so I'm not going to count this as evidence. But it's another one of those strange, like, She goes, "Oh man, just traveled again," and it was a picture of her cooking something, if I remember right. And it said, "I wish I could my goal in life is to find a way to get paid to travel around and do nothing for the rest of my life." Because her parents were pretty rich at the time; they were funding her to go do that. And they were cutting her off. That doesn't help with this whole thing.
Mission completed. Achievement unlocked.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what's going on, but that doesn't help. Like that sucks for her to try to defend. I mean, we've all been in those places where something looks really bad, but on the other hand, like, that's what I don't know. It's funny one way or the other. It's funny.
Here's what she did for $440,000 last year. She released 2 episodes in Tropes vs. Women. It's that ongoing thing that she raised money for back in 2012 and never finished. She put out another video called Playing with Privilege, the 25 Invisible Benefits of Gaming While Male. And that's kind of what...
other people. Like
Oh, okay.
didn't
She
she mention
released it,
yeah,
but
okay, yeah. She did release it.
maybe
That's true.
maybe she didn't produce it. But I think that's funny that she's talking about privilege because that's being paid that much to do that little seems like a lot of privilege to me. Um, She received a Gamers Developers Choice Ambassador Award back in March. We talked about that. She was nominated for Microsoft's 2014 Women in Games Ambassador Award. She wrote Anita Sarkeesian on Video Games, Great Future, a New York Times op-ed. She wrote 5 Feminist Moments in the History of Video Games, New York Review of Video Games. She focused on advocacy efforts regarding online harassment, including consulting with tech and social media companies to improve their platforms and participate in a task force working on short and long-term strategies to end digital abuse. I don't know what that entails.
Yeah.
She mentored a women in tech public speaking workshop. She presented and lectured on topics of online harassment, and she did 20 media appearances and interviews. So that's kind of like her year, and that's what she earned money for. The weird thing I see here is a shift from feminism to online harassment, which is, I guess she's becoming an expert on that because of all the online harassment she's kind of attracted.
And that's good. That also needs to be addressed. I think that all this money that's being pumped into this movement is because it needs to be done, and that's what's so tragic about her being at the helm. I have not seen evidence yet that she's hardworking, and I would like somebody to do. It's like if we nominated, like, I don't know, like Tosh.0 or whatever, Daniel Tosh, to be the president. Like, he's a slacker. Like, yes, he'd probably get some things done. He's got some good ideas about things, but he's not a hard-working dude. We need to put someone in there that's going to get that shit done and use that money on things other than, I don't know what she's using it on, but I mean, $400,000 or whatever, walking around money is a lot. So to just do whatever she wants with. I mean, she shouldn't be getting paid. The president gets paid $400,000 a year. She's getting paid as much as the president, and she's doing fucking nothing. Like, this is important. What you're supposed to be doing. People are giving you money because they think it's important. This is why I get mad at the people who are in community mental health who don't use evidence-based therapy. They just like go and talk with a person or do a devotional with them. That's explicitly against your ethics. And so I get mad because they get paid. Like, us, me and you, pay someone. Everyone listening pays someone about, I think it's like a $90 for an hour of that. We're paying as a society for $90 for that person to sit with them and do something that we know doesn't work. That's bullshit. Like, I hate when people waste money that is being given for a very good cause. People need interventions,
Right, especially now that she's a non-profit, which means that we're all subsidizing her with our, the tax code as well.
No, profit fucking bullshit, man. Like, this is gonna piss me off. She's making a lot of money off of it.
It's profitable. Like, the good news of being a nonprofit is she's released her expenditures and her revenues and her proposed budgets, but that's also the bad news because it's fucking tragic. She spent $64,000, $32,000 on administrative stuff, $31,000 on programs. She was donated $441,930.
That's insane. It's more evidence that we need someone in that chair, and just maybe not her.
And she's planning on spending $40,000 next year on fundraising, which is clearly not like a problem for her. she's becoming a congressman where she spends more time like raising funds for re-election than actually doing her job.
Yeah. I don't, and just for a guy who's seen a lot of fluffed CVs, right? You probably have too. If you've been in academia, you've seen bullshit, and you've done bullshit on your CV. You're like, how can I add a line here, right?
Yeah.
Hearing things like focused on advocacy efforts, mentored. These are things that I put in mind to fluff it up, right?
Right.
Here's another one. Presented and lectured on topics of online harassment. Like, we also said you did 20 media appearances. Is that how come you enumerated that one, but you didn't enumerate the presented and lectured? How many of those did you do? Why didn't you keep track? Maybe write those down. Also, nominated for blank blank. That doesn't do anything. Someone just did that for you. You didn't do anything. You could have been dead and been nominated, right? It doesn't take work. Releasing things does, but then, like, I don't know, writing an article, and like, you do that overnight, maybe a couple nights at least. I don't know. I see about a month's of work here. 20 media appearances, that's one a day. She probably took all day to prepare for it, if she's smart. Maybe a day before. And then presented a couple topics on something, and then released like 2 videos.
And I'd say like each video looks like she spent about a week on them. They're not great, but they're about a week's worth of effort, like better than ours.
That last one is like you could beat that game in a day, and then that video put together was just a bunch of gameplay, and then talking about
that
one
was
character.
2015 though. The two she put out in 2014 are her tropes versus women. They look like they probably took about a week's worth of like editing and writing and sound effects and everything. So probably like 2 weeks of work, and then it's like about a month and a half of things that she's done.
I just wish she'd be more honest about it. Just be like, hey man, I'm busy doing these appearances, or I kind of like to enjoy my time in life or whatever. I can get behind that, but like don't I'm like, oh yeah, live it up. You're young. Let's do this thing called life. But fuck, like don't pretend like you're using this money in a way that's ethical when you're clearly not.
It just seems like incredibly low output compared to like other YouTube series and channels that have way less money. And they do
Hell, we do more. We do more.
Yeah, right. Our budget of $0, we put out a product every week, and like hers are more polished. But with a $400,000, we could put a lot of polish on the show.
Oh my God, yeah, I would have a daily show for fun. That would be paid $200,000.
You'd be getting probably paid more than the Daily Show.
Exactly. But anyway, enough of all that. There's just a lot of problems with her, not the movement. Like, I'm not a misogynist. I agree that this needs to be done, and she's
the movement will tell you whether or not you're a misogynist, Jeremiah. You don't get to decide that.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. You don't get to decide your values. Me, who's never met you, gets to.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Thanks. But anyway, well, cool. I guess that kind of wraps this episode up.
Yeah, kind of ended on a low note, but she released her funds, and that bears discussion.
Yeah, the funds in this video, which I was actually looking forward to the video. They've been moving in a positive direction for me. Just short of her realizing that video games don't affect behavior or aren't going to cause you to be a misogynist, then I'm pretty happy with her right now. But I'm not happy with her output and the money she's receiving for it, when that could be put into literally anyone else's hands and done better. Anyway, whatever. So, yes, good. I guess we can just end the show. We didn't get any feedback or anything besides a Facebook page.
Yeah, sounds good.
So, all right. Well, happy birthday, David, you old piece of shit. And, thanks for everyone for tuning in. And I imagine this won't be controversial. Anytime Anita Sarkeesian's name is in our podcast, it gets tons of downloads. So I'm sure if you guys have any thoughts, let us know. Send us an email. Hit me up on Twitter, twitter.com/GameTheoryPod. Or just jump on the Facebook page and let us know why we're stupid or why we're right. And,
right. If you want to yell at us an email, that's thegametheorypodcast@gmail.com.
Yep. And finally, leave an iTunes review if you haven't. We've got like 62 in there, which is a lot. I really appreciate that. But if you haven't, try to make some time to pop in there. We'd really appreciate it. It always helps. And I didn't understand how big this was, even when other people said exactly this. I never understood how big iTunes reviews were until you did it. But yeah. But yeah, so I guess we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in, and let us know what you think about this, the budget, and her latest video on when a female character was done right. So, thanks for tuning in.